What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Puck Drop with Duster McDangles, guys. This is our third iteration of our weekly wrap-up reaction series live episode every week, which we then have segments of. Most notably, we've got our power rankings, top 10 power rankings, as well as we typically do East Coast and West Coast breakdowns of each conference and how things have really gone down over the past week. What teams have been doing, what players have been hot, what players have not been so hot, and I do have an update as well of the game potentially that we will be watching this week. We'll be updating you guys on our picks from last week, as well as giving you my picks this week. So we've got a lot of stuff here in today's episode to really impact the Bruins and Oilers, really show everybody who is top of the NHL. A lot of other things going on so far this year. Points, Pastrnak leading the way, or was leading the way. Connor McDavid showing us he is the top player in the NHL. You've got Jake Ottinger leading the way for goaltending really in the NHL, although he did end up getting hurt last night against the New York Rangers, so tough to see that happen. But there's a lot to get into this episode, and we will not waste any more time getting into things. Let's see here. Danny, welcome to the stream. But what we will first get into is the picks from last week. I know we gave 3 picks and we lost all 3 games of last week. So as of right now, our record for pick'ems in this series or on the channel, we're 0-3 so far. I'm blanking on the picks last week. I know we had the Blues in one of them. They ended up losing the game. We actually had the Avalanche over the Rangers at MSG, and the Rangers actually ended up winning that the Avalanche ended up beating the Rangers in a shootout. Yes, we had the Rangers winning, but the Avalanche won in a shootout 3-2. And I'm drawing a blank on our last pick that we had. I don't actually have it in front of me, but I do have my picks for this week, and we will go over those here as the video goes on. We'll give that as the midpoint of the video, but where we typically start off is in the Western Conference, guys, and man, oh man, we've got some crazy things going on in the West. Obviously, at the bottom of the league table so far, it is pretty much what we expected. As you guys can see the standings on your screen right now of the entire Western Conference. Anaheim, San Jose, Arizona, and then actually surprisingly to me earlier in the season I thought they'd be a little bit better, but the St. Louis Blues kind of struggling as of late. Vancouver starting to figure some things out. LA in the hunt as well. They are currently 500, as well as the Seattle Kraken. So near the bottom of each division is getting a little spicy with how things are going. Minnesota getting a couple wins here and there, but still, I would say, on the weaker side of things, trying to figure it all out. But at the top of the division, I mean, the cream of the crop, you've got Vegas, Dallas leading each of their respective divisions. You've got Winnipeg nipping at the heels in the Central, as well as Chicago. Colorado is there as well. But Pacific, Edmonton, Calgary, Vegas, those teams are really showing that they are going to be playoff contenders potentially down the road. I know it is still very early, but if they can stay healthy, continue to get good play from their goaltending. I know Campbell for Edmonton still needs to figure it out a little bit more. I have been watching some highlights, but if they can keep that going, man, look out for the Edmonton Oilers. But Vegas, man, they are getting some great goaltending from Logan Thompson, as well as some great play from all around. Pietrangelo, Eichel, Phil Kessel broke the all-time Ironman streak this past week, so congrats to him. Huge stuff for him. A lot of other good things happening for the Vegas Golden Knights, which we will get into here shortly. But man, Edmonton 4-0 this past week, and you guys will see in the power rankings later in today's episode where they stand. They actually finally crack the top 10. I won't give it away of where they're currently sitting, but we've got a lot of movement on that. But in the West, it is looking very strong, and where we're actually going to start is actually going to be in the Pacific Division, the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, Vegas has been on fire. We're going to pull up their stats right now, get the team stats, and man, oh man, it has been pretty much getting it done by committee. A lot of players chipping in. Eichel, Stevenson, Marchessault, Carlson, Smith, Theodore, Stone, Pietrangelo, Roy. I mean, Kessel isn't even actually on that leaders board for points, but they are getting it done by committee. Eichel showing us why he is a superstar. They're playing great in their D zone. Obviously, the goaltending Logan Thompson is playing out of his mind. He's got a 169 goals against average with a 943 save percentage. So crazy stuff there. He has actually got, I don't know if it will give us wins or not, but currently he is playing out of his mind. And Aiden Hill, not too bad as well. He's got a 2.00 goals against with a 9.35. So they're getting goaltending from both of their goaltenders, which is a little surprising considering they are out Leonard for the entire season. But if they can keep this up, look out for the Golden Knights in the Pacific Division. On the back end, Shea Theodore and Alex Pietrangelo have been playing out of their minds with their vision, not only on the offensive side of things and power play, and that always looks good, and stats are great on that aspect, but in the D zone, they're playing solid hockey. They're leading by example, throwing the body around, getting those poke checks, lifting the sticks, head on a swivel. They are leading by example, and it's really helping out the rest of their D with McNabb, Whitecloud, Haig, Martinez, and Hutton, although Hutton doesn't have any points. But again, overall, defensively, they are playing great stuff in their forwards, getting back on the back check, covering their points, heads on a swivel, covering the slot when needed. The centers are winning faceoffs. I mean, overall, and not to mention they're scoring goals at will when they get their chances. And again, it shows with these standings, 7-2-0, 14 points already on the season. Goal differential, they are a plus 14. They are 3 in a row right now, home and away. Doesn't matter. They are 4-1 at home, 3-1 away. So the Golden Knights are going to continue to roll, and I expect them to do so with their schedule coming up. If they can continue to have more productive weeks as we get closer to Thanksgiving, and then as we get closer to New Year's and the All-Star break and Christmas, it'll be interesting to see if they continue to stay healthy and continue to get the production from their top guys, especially Eichel, getting that done. To be interested to see if they will stay at the top of their division above Edmonton and Calgary. Now, let's cut off here our talk about the Golden Knights for a second, and let's talk about the Edmonton Oilers. Man, talk about the tale of the change of a couple weeks. Week 1, they looked awful. Week 2, you could sort of see some things sort of brewing with the Oilers. Obviously, they're top dogs with McDavid and Draisaitl getting the job done as they always do, but they're starting to get better play from their depth players as we're going to pull up their stats right now. And again, it's not just about the stats. Again, watching the highlights, and I've actually been able to catch a couple of games. Last night, the game against Calgary, they were completely outplayed. I will say that, but they were able to get the job done. They put the puck in the back of the net, and they were able to get goaltending from Stuart Skinner. That absolute beauty of a stash might be their new starting goaltender with Jack Campbell not doing so great. Again, his stats right there, as you guys can see on the screen right now, 3.98 goals against average, where Skinner's is a 1.59. Save percentage, we're looking at a 9.55 for Stuart Skinner and then an 8.88 for Jack Campbell. So maybe they have their new starting goaltender that has sparked a flare or a match underneath the butts of the rest of the teams, stating that, hey, no one's job's safe. We go with the hot players. And if you guys take a look at the points over there, you can clearly see on the screen right now, McDavid 18, Draisaitl 16, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins with 11, Zach Hyman, who's been playing great, scrappy player. He's been like that ever since his days in Toronto. Bringing that over to Edmonton, I think, is really helping with the culture there. Vander King getting it done, 8 points for him. Darnell Nurse on the back end. Evan Bouchard, I think, needs to pick it up a little bit more. He's had a couple of brain fart plays where he's just kind of giving the puck away and they end up getting scored on. But you're going to see that with any player in the NHL. Goal-wise, McDavid with 9, but interestingly enough, Zach Hyman is in second on their team with 6 above Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Draisaitl. You've got Ryan McLeod there with 3. So they're getting goals from players that you don't typically, or at least wouldn't typically see up at the top, from Zach Hyman being a top goal scorer for their team. Again, you're probably going to end up seeing Draisaitl climb up there and McDavid obviously being up there. But man, the games that they are on and are looking good, at least the last 4 games. Again, they went 4-0 this past week, able to get it done by committee. Again, the teams that they were playing, not necessarily the greatest. I know they beat Pittsburgh. They came back in that game, beating them 6-3. I know the Penguins, we'll talk about them later in the video. But taking a look, they beat Pittsburgh 6-3. They beat St. Louis 3-1, Chicago 6-5 in a shootout, and then they beat the Calgary Flames in a game which I don't think they should have won last night, but they were able to get it done. And those are games where if you're not at your best, maybe you're not playing great offensively, you can't get the puck out of your zone, which was the case last night. They had a couple bad giveaways. They were heavily outshot, but they find a way to get it done. And at the end of the day, if you run into a hot goaltender, which I think Calgary did last night, most likely outcome is going to be a W for your team, and Edmonton was greatly appreciative of that performance that Skinner put in last night. Again, that propels them to second in the division, 2 points behind the Vegas Golden Knights, 6-3-0 on the season. Goal differential, they're starting to tick that back in the right direction. It is +6 at the moment. Again, 4-game winning streak, one of the hottest teams in the NHL. You can even say the same about in the Central, the Winnipeg Jets, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But man, oh man, Calgary, man, they had 2 games this past week. They beat the Penguins 3-1, pretty easy game for them. I don't think they were ever in a troubled spot there. But last night against Edmonton, I don't know if it was a couple days off, they're at home, just not clicking with their routine, whatever it was. Again, they dominated the game in my mind against the Edmonton Oilers with the shots, goal scoring chances, turnovers, giveaways. Everything was in the Flames' favor except the score at the end of the day, and that's really all that matters. They just couldn't find a way to get it done against the Edmonton Oilers with the second Battle of Alberta already this season. Taking a look at the stats for the Calgary Flames as well. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. Kadri, again, him coming over, he's been a huge boost to them. He was great against the Penguins. I mean, he was pretty much great against the Oilers last night. I'm pretty sure he was kept off the score sheet of that game. But Kadri, Anderson, Huberdeau, I think needs to step it up a little bit more. Again, new atmosphere, new life, living everyday routine is completely changed to having lived in Florida for his pretty much entire career up until now. Tyler Toffoli, Stone, Dubé, Majapani, Lindholm, Uyghur needs to step it up a little bit more. Another guy who they brought in from Florida. Markstrom, he's been okay. I mean, he's got a .260 goals against average with a .903 save percentage. I think he needs to be a little bit better in between the pipes. Villard hasn't been the best backup in the world. He's got a .303 with an .896, but again, that also has to do with the defensive posture of things. In the games that they have lost, they're kind of running around, not able to clear the puck, couple turnovers, bad giveaways, couple soft goals. There was one last night where McDavid kind of scored from the half wall, kind of a broken play, and it just kind of snuck by Markstrom. Things like that can't be happening, and they seem to be happening here and there in certain games, at least the ones that they are losing. Those goals just cannot happen in the NHL if you want to be successful being up in the standings and fighting for playoff position. But other than that, really, in the Pacific Division, Seattle's looked good in a couple of games that I've been able to see for them. LA's looked good here and there, but again, they lay some eggs here and there. Younger teams giving the puck away, bad turnovers, not back checking, 3 men caught in deep. I'd say the tail of the tape is kind of similar for Seattle and the Kings in that aspect, but I expect them to figure things out as the season goes on. They'll be in the battle for a wild card position, that is for sure, with the teams in the Central Division. But that is going to be my wrap-up. I guess we'll quickly touch as I take a look at the bottom of the division. Again, Vancouver got their first couple wins of the season. Good for them. Good for their coach getting another extended lifeline of not getting fired. If they honestly didn't win any games this week, I would have expected a coaching change for them. San Jose, again, they've played 11 games. Last night they looked pretty good. They got the W against, I'm drawing a blank on who they actually got the W against last night or yesterday. I thought it was a win, but it was a closely contested game, but they actually lost to Tampa Bay. So again, they actually did beat the Toronto Maple Leafs. That was the game that was in my mind. I was like, they beat somebody, and who did they beat? It was Toronto, and we'll get to them later in the video. They have been all over the map. And then Anaheim, one of the youngest teams in the league, just not really getting the goaltending, not getting the defensive play, lots of turnovers, lots of bad neutral zone turnovers that lead to massive counterattacks that teams take advantage of. They just can't be doing that. They have played a lot of top teams in the NHL as well, but minus 20 goal differential, a lot of that's going to be due to breakdowns in the D zone, turnovers, and not putting the puck in the back of the net with only 16 goals for on the season. So going to be a little tough moving forward with them. But let's now move and shift over to the Central Division. Man, oh man, it has been kind of crazy. The Winnipeg Jets started off slow. The only thing that we really talked about them was they don't look good. Hellebuyck has looked pretty good, but again, turnovers, bad play, not getting the offense that they need. That's starting to turn around a little bit, as you guys can actually see the goal differential for the Jets. Dallas kind of piecing things together, but they've got some games where they lay some eggs. Yesterday, they lost to the Rangers 6-3. A battle back and forth early, but then the Rangers pulled away late. Ottinger went down with an injury. Apparently, it is not serious, so that is good news for the Dallas Stars because they cannot lose at this point one of the top goalies, at least top 3 goalies right now in the current NHL. Again, goals for their top line of Pavelski, Hintz, and Robertson has been absolutely red hot fire. Taking a look now, we'll take a look at their stats as really we've kind of started a little topic here on the Dallas Stars. Pull up the stats here for you. Robinson, 10 goals. Hintz, 9 goals. Pavelski, 8. That is their top line. They are leading by example. Mason Marchman, coming over from Florida, has been great still. 7 points for him. Tyler Seguin has been great as well, 7 points as well. And then you've got the rookie Wyatt Johnson in from the Windsor Spitfires. He's got 4 points. I believe he had 2 goals in 1 game last week as well. Lundqvist Heiskanen has been a little quiet. I think he needs to step up a little bit more. Goal-wise, I was going to say there's going to be a bunch of guys at 4, a bunch of guys at 3, and kind of getting it done by committee. But the top line needs to stay consistent. But if my concern with the Dallas Stars is if that top line, let's say there's an injury to one of them or the goal scoring starts to dry up a little bit, how's the rest of the team going to respond? Is Seguin and Marchman, Johnson, Heiskanen going to be able to step up and put the puck in the back of the net? If those top guys aren't producing, that is my one concern moving forward with the Stars. But as of right now, they are looking good on that top line. I know when it comes to this past week, they did go 2-2, so a couple games where they look great, a couple games not so great. Goaltending, Jake Ottinger, he's got a 1.40 goals against average with a 9.52 save percentage. Again, still early, so goaltending stats will be a little skewed if you've done really well or if you've done really poor, and those will tend to even themselves out. Again, Scott Wedgwood, the stats don't look great, but the games and tape that I have seen of him, he's made some pretty great saves. I think yesterday's game had a lot to do playing into that. Although Jake Ottinger started the game, Wedgwood came in a little cold, gave up some goals in the third period. Again, Wyatt Johnson and Lundqvist, the rookies, 4 points each. That is huge for them, especially Lundqvist being on the back end from the Rangers. He's really proving that he was worth that trade, at least in the eyes of the Dallas Stars. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do moving forward if they can continue to play great hockey. First line can stay healthy, get a little bit more production from the back end with Heiskanen, Lindell, Suter, Hakanpää, however you say his name, and if Lundqvist can continue to keep things rolling, it's going to be interesting to see how that works itself out for the Dallas Stars. Now with Winnipeg, man, that is just a tale of a couple weeks of just figuring it out. Finally, again, a lot of, I guess, locker room distractions. Wheeler losing the C, trying to find their identity again as a team. And as of right now, 3-game winning streak. The Winnipeg Jets are getting it done by committee. Another one of those teams that find a way to spread the love around. A lot of guys getting involved. Again, as you see the stats on the board right there, defenseman leading the way with Josh Morrissey. Great defenseman. He's looked very solid in the D zone as well as on the attack. 8 points when it comes to actual goals Panik actually has the most goals. So Morrissey, 0 goals, but he has 8 assists. So he's got the vision out there. Blake Wheeler stepping up. He's got 7 points. Cole Perfetti has looked very good out there, real shifty, making great moves, making defensemen look honestly pretty stupid out there with some moves he's putting on them. He's up there with 6 goals. If he can continue to keep a rookie season going, that is going to be huge for the Winnipeg Jets. You've got Pierre-Luc Dubois. You've got Mark Scheifele getting it done. Panik, Lowry, Kyle Connor, I think, has been a little quiet. Him and Ehlers, I think, need to step it up a little bit more if they want continued success. But between the pipes, man, Hellebuyck, he's got a 2.50 goals against average, but I'm more concerned with a save percentage stat, and he's got a 9.25, which is, I'd say, a little bit above average in the NHL. Average to me is going to be like a 900 to 910 range. So he, to me, is above average right now, which is great. Again, elite, we're looking at the 9.5 to 9.35 range. So he's just below that right now. So he is definitely keeping them in games. The Winnipeg Jets, they did go 3-0 this week with a couple big wins. Again, we'll get into more of their wins and who they played and the update on my power rankings that they might possibly be on. A little tease here with talking about them and my power rankings for them. Danny, thank you so much. Just checking on the stream. Both have great stats. Are great teams. Yes, they are. Metro Division, always tough. That is for sure. Again, we'll get to my power rankings a little later. Thank you so much for watching, Danny. And then as we move down the division, Chicago, Colorado, nothing too much to really talk about with them. Again, still trying to figure it out. Honestly, a little shocked that Chicago's doing as well as they are with the players that they have and the controversy of potentially Patrick Kane leaving, Jonathan Taves still there. Both of them on big contracts, not really any well-known goaltenders, but they do technically have a +1 goal differential with 28 goals scored, which is currently it's tied for second most in the division as Colorado leads the way with 29. Man, we were watching that game last night, Colorado Islanders, which we had actually ended up ending early because it was just such a boring game. Should have kept watching. That third period was extremely exciting. Islanders scored 5 straight goals to beat the Colorado Avalanche, come back in that game and win. Absolute kind of falling apart job of Colorado, just too many turnovers, throwing the puck around, not getting back on the back check, getting hemmed in deep with 3 forwards and deep, not getting back, counterattacks, giveaways, just bad penalties, and man, oh man, Islanders, we'll talk about them in just a little bit, but they are figuring it out as well. And now as we start looking at this bottom half of the division, again, Minnesota, Nashville, again, teams, I'd even lump St. Louis in there of teams that are still trying to figure it out. They have their days. They have their bad days. St. Louis has had 4 bad days in a row. They're 4-game losing streak, so they're kind of starting to tail off a little bit here. They need to rein in everything so that they don't fall too far behind. I know when they won the Cup a few years ago, they were one of the worst teams in the league on January 1st. They ended up winning the Cup, so it's not impossible if you get down early in the season, but man, they got to figure it out offensively. Haven't looked great. They've only scored 18 goals. The Arizona Coyotes have more goals than the St. Louis Blues, and they're giving up way too many chances. Jordan Bennington hasn't looked very good. He hasn't looked like the Bennington that we're used to seeing in years past. Again, -7 goal differential. They're just not clicking. Nashville, Minnesota starting to figure it out a little bit more. Kaprizov helping the team out, but they need to figure it out more in between the pipes. Fleury recently, I think, has been stepping it up a little bit more, but honestly, his stats, we're just going to pull them up here really quick. His stats aren't going to look great. Yeah, I was going to say 3.88, and then save percentage, which I'm more concerned about. He's got an 8.79, as well as Philip Gustafsson has a 8.78. So goaltending is not great. Point-wise, Zuccarello, Kaprizov, Addison, great addition on the back end. He's getting it done. It's interesting to see him play. Matt Boldy, Eriksson Ek, Middleton, Gaudreau, Hartman, Spurgeon. Their top dogs are getting it done with Zuccarello and Kaprizov. But other than that, some other guys need to step up a little bit more other than Boldy and Eriksson Ek if they want a chance to continue to win some games, get back up to where they should be, which is hunting for a playoff spot in the Western Conference. And then we've got Arizona. Nothing really to note from them other than the fact that they did play their first game at Arizona State University this past week, which was, I believe, Friday night, 10:30 Eastern puck drop. It was electric in there, even though it's only, 4,800 people max capacity. I'm sure they can get it up to 5,000 if they really want in the boxes. But they did lose that game. It was a hard-fought game, but interesting to see that. But other than that, they haven't looked very good at all. 21 goals, 32 against, goal differential -11, not very good. So we can expect to see them near the bottom of the division as the year goes on. And really the only thing I would see out of Arizona is if potential trade assets, if Chychrun is going to be on the trading block for teams trying to make a playoff run, if they even consider moving on from Schmaltz or Clayton Keller. Who knows if teams will try to poach them as the trade deadline looms in the springtime, but we're a long ways away from that. But when it comes to my Western Conference full breakdown, I'd say that's really all I've got for that. What New York Rangers players are the greatest players, at least right now this year? You've got Zibanejad and Panarin, I would say, are their top two players this year. Now, greatest of all time, that could be up for debate. You've got Mark Messier played for them. Wayne Gretzky played for them, but not for a long time. There's a bunch of guys that Brian Leetch, a defenseman, if you want to throw him in there. Again, those are, when I think of greats, I'd say Messier and Leetch are the two greatest Rangers in my eyes when I think of Rangers, or Phil Esposito when he played for them back in the day. Those are just some players that come to mind. But that is my Western Conference little breakdown for you guys. Just getting my paper with notes here in front of me right below the camera of, again, the games that I picked last week. We went 0-3. This week, we will not be doing a live streamed game during the week, as well as the actual puck drop episode will be a little late next week as well. The puck drop episode 4, because Sunday night I will be going to the Carolina Hurricanes versus Toronto Maple Leafs game down in Raleigh, North Carolina. Going to be exciting stuff. Going to try to get some video of that experience for you guys. We'll be sitting pretty good seats. I don't want to give anything away because I will take some video of it, but it'll be fun to share that ride with you guys. But my game picks for this week we will do before we get into the Eastern Conference breakdown of this week. And first game, I've got to find it first. Who was the first game? Yes, so first game that I am picking, I'm waiting till Tuesday, and we've got the Boston Bruins versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. Penguins just getting back from their West Coast swing. It'll be their first game back. They lost every single game on the West Coast swing, and they're going up against, in my eyes, the top team in the NHL, the Boston Bruins. I think the Bruins are going to go in there and find a way to pull that one out, so we're going to go with the Bruins against the Penguins. I know, being a Penguins fan, it kills me to say, but they are never usually good against the Bruins. So we'll go Bruins beating Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. My next game I'm going to go with is going to be Calgary and Nashville. Nashville going up to Calgary. It is not a back-to-back, but Nashville is away from home, and I'm going to be taking Calgary in that game. And then following all of that up with a Saturday pick, we've got the Seattle Kraken versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. Kraken just beat the Penguins last night 4-1 or 3-1 with an empty netter, so it was a close game, pretty much 2-1 throughout. Penguins will get their redemption and beat the Seattle Kraken in that one. So we've got Bruins over the Pens, Flames over the Preds, and then we've got the Penguins over the Seattle Kraken for my picks this week. Again, we're 0-3 so far to start the season. Hopefully we can get back on track this week with a couple of W's, although I wouldn't be sad if we lost that first one if the Penguins beat the Bruins. But those are my picks. Again, we won't have a live stream game this week because I've got some family coming in from Canada out of town this week, so it'll be fun to catch up with them, play some golf, spend some quality family time with them. So I won't be doing any live streams Thursday, Friday, or Saturday for any games this week. And then Sunday, again, this episode that we're doing right now, the puck drop, will not be happening on Sunday. I'll try to get that done on Monday for you guys, just so we can get those videos rolling out, segments during the week. So that's just a quick little update on that for whoever is watching this live stream right now. That is why. And I'll also be sure to post during the week as well when it comes to what's going on. Make sure to follow the community tab on that so you are up to date with all the news on what's going on. I'll be sure to remind you guys of that specifically. But enough talk of that. We are now moving to the Eastern Conference, which, man, oh man, it has been an absolute crazy week. As I get rid of this itch in my eye, it has been a crazy week in the Eastern Conference. Man, Bruins continuing to just dominate. Florida, Buffalo starting to figure it out a little bit more. Detroit, Tampa, not so bad, but not so great. I know Tampa and Montreal are actually on 2-game winning streaks, so I guess you could say they are starting to figure it out a little bit more. Toronto and Ottawa, on the other hand, Ottawa's lost now 2 straight. Toronto has now lost 1 in a game that it's just like, man, what is Toronto doing? I know they're on a West Coast swing right now. They just can't seem to figure it out. And then in the Metro, it is just chaos. You've got so many stacked teams that I would say some teams not playing as good as they should, and other teams playing, I'd say, better than what they are. And you can see on the screen, New Jersey, Philly, just playing above of what everyone thought they would be doing. New Jersey leading the division in points, which is insane. Philly just there in second, lost a heartbreaker to Carolina last night. And then you've got the Penguins, Rangers, and Washington still trying to figure it out. I know Pittsburgh have lost 4 straight on their Northwest swing to Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, and the Seattle Kraken 4 in a row. Not good. I know Gensel was out for some of those games, and that could have thrown off their line chemistry that they were building early in the year. And then you've got Columbus, who are struggling. So we've got kind of teams all over the map, but we're really going to start in the Atlantic Division. And man, the Boston Bruins are just an absolute machine this year. I did not give them enough credit of the lineup that they had going into this season with the injuries of Marchand and everyone else. Bringing back Krejci has been a huge help. Pastrnak has been absolutely on fire. Bergeron is playing amazing hockey. Even without McAvoy and Marchand, they are finding a way to get it done. DeBrusk is playing great hockey. The goaltending, Ullmark and Swayman, have been playing very good. Let's actually take a look at their stats right now. And again, their system, the way they're playing, the forechecking, the hitting, neutral zone trap, forcing teams to go wide, forcing teams to not be able to get really anything going in their defensive zone for the Bruins, swallowing teams up, just throwing the body around. It is very impressive to watch when I watch their games. Hopefully I'll be able to watch them play the Penguins this upcoming week. But Ullmark, man, oh man, he's been out of his mind, insanely good. Goals against average 170, but the save percentage is what I'm really more worried about. 945 save percentage against Swayman. I'd say there's been a couple games where he just hasn't looked good, but that's really kind of hurting his stats right now. Other than that, he has looked good in the games that he has played. But Ullmark has been their superstar between the pipes, and maybe he will be their main starter going forward this year. And who would have thought that when he was playing for the Buffalo Sabres a few years ago? Never would have thought that. But they are getting it done, I'd say really by committee, but then you have their superstar, David Pastrnak, getting it done. They need to find a way to get him signed, locked up for whatever it takes. If it's 8 for 8, or I mean, if he got 8 years at $8 million a year, that would be an absolute steal for the Bruins. I expect him to maybe try to finagle a way to get around the 11.5 to 12.5 range, but I don't think Bruins upper management are going to be willing to do that. The Bruins have been notorious of being a little tight on the wallet. So who knows if they'll be able to bring him back. But if they don't, that would be the biggest mistake in franchise history, not being able to bring him back with his elite vision and absolute massive shot that he has. Quick release, hard shot, power play threat. He's kind of like the new up-and-coming Ovechkin with that one-timer shot on the right-hand side, or right-handed one-timer shot. He is crazy good. And then you've got Bergeron playing great. Krejci, so the two old guys really getting it done with their veteran presence and their just knowledge of the game, helping out everyone else around them. Jake DeBrusk, 7 points. Hampus Lindholm has been a big surprise on the back end with Charlie McAvoy out. He has really stepped up, not only in the D zone, but on the offensive side of things as well. Taylor Hall, AJ Greer, a surprise. Interesting player this year. Zaka looking very good coming over from the Devils. Charlie Coyle, Matt Grzelcyk. I'm pretty sure they have lost Brandon Carlo for a considerable amount of time, which is tough to see. But on the back end, Grzelcyk, Clifton, Forbert, Mike Riley. I mean, again, point-wise, it's not crazy, but they are playing such tough defense. Again, that always helps the goaltending. Again, Olmark playing at an elite status right now is getting very good D-zone presence from everyone else. Not only defense, but forwards alike, playing solid on the wall, winning those 50-50 battles. And then on the offensive side of things, the chip and chase play when they need to. They're going to run you through the boards. They're going to get that puck back, cycle it, work it to the point, high-low play, getting tons of shots. It goes to show their goal differential right now, plus 18. Pretty sure that is the best in the league. They've got 39 goals scored. They're shooting the puck. And with elite shooters such as Bergeron and Pasternak and Taylor Hall, and when you bring Marchand back, it's just going to make things even better. So if they can continue this run that they're on, again, they've won 5 straight. They're going to lose some games here and there. But if they can continue, let's say in a 3-game span, go 2-1, or in a 4-game span, go 3-1, it'll add up. And once you start getting those players back from injury, the sky's the limit for this Bruins team. They're going to continue to hammer teams. And again, I'll be interested this week to see what they can do, to see if they can stay on top of the Atlantic Division. We're now going to go to Florida. We'll go in a little bit more in depth with Florida than the other teams. Florida Panthers, I know I was a little down on them last week. I actually have a little note on the Florida Panthers. They did go 2-2. They beat the Islanders and Edmonton Oilers. Not Edmonton Oilers. Geez, I always get those abbreviations mixed up. They beat the Ottawa Senators. That's who they actually beat, not the Edmonton Oilers. But Florida's looked good. They're scoring goals. Tkachuk has just brought a new dynamic to that Florida Panthers team that I don't think they really had before. I know Barkov finally got his first goal of the year last night. Montour has been playing very good, an elevated role with Mackenzie Weegar gone up at the top of the defense. There's another player that I'm drawing a blank on his last name, of stepping up with defense now gone or injured. Ekblad being out here for a little bit, but Montour 8 points on the year. Forsling is the guy that I was drawing a blank. He has stepped up offensively. Goaltending, goals against average, kind of almost split. Spencer Knight technically having the far superior goals against average, but save percentage, Spencer Knight with an 8.99. Bobrovsky with an 8.97, so they're just, I'd say, right below that average. They're below average to me in goaltending, and that's where I think with the defensive breakdowns that they do have, with just some brain fart plays in their own D zone or just bad giveaways in the neutral zone that lead to counterattacks that they get burnt on, it's going to affect your goaltending stats, and you can see it there, but overall, as a team, Tkachuk, 13 points. He is just a scrappy, in-your-face player with skill and a shot. He's the full package. He's everything you look for in a hockey player that you want to change a culture in a team. I think that's honestly why they brought him in. They needed that change, and honestly, so far, it has worked out in his favor and the team's favor. Barkov, 8 points. Colin White playing some great hockey. Carter Verhaeghe having some pretty solid games here and there. Forsling, Lundell, Bennett. Honestly, Bennett needs to step it up a little bit more just based on where he was drafted. High draft pick with Buffalo. They brought him in. I know he had a pretty decent year last year, but he needs to pick it up a little bit more. I think if the Florida Panthers want to have some more success, other than their top guys, Colin White has also been stepping up in that role of being that next wave of, okay, yep, we're going to step it up when the top guys aren't playing. But I think Sam Bennett needs to be then a part of that second wave, that if Barkov and Tkachuk are having an off night, they can step in, Bennett, Verhaeghe, White, and get the job done by committee. And honestly, they've been doing that. Again, standings do reflect that. Goal differential, not so great, 29-4, 28 against, only +1. They did win their last game, 5-3-1, 11 points, good enough for second in the division. And it's going to be a tight division to see what two teams from that division are going to be able to make it into the playoffs for sure. But that's really my full breakdown on Florida. They're fast, they're getting it done, and they find a way to win those scrappy games. Not the best team away. They're 2-3 versus 3-1 at home. So obviously any team will typically play better on home ice, but they'll need to figure it out on the road a little bit more than they need to do at home in sunny, warm Florida. But moving down the division, Buffalo, Detroit, Tampa, I kind of have all put in to one clump of the games they win, they look great. Buffalo, exciting win last night. Tage Thompson had a 2-goal night. They look good, but again, then they have days where it's like, man, what are they doing? What is the goaltending doing? What's up with these giveaways? They need to be a little bit better with that. I know they do have some young players sprinkled in here and there. We'll take a quick look at their stats. Nothing too crazy. Dahlin leading the way, 10 points. Tuck, Olofsson, Middlestat, Thompson, 6 points. Hinostroza, been a very interesting player. Dylan Cousins, Jeff Skinner, I think needs to pick it up a little bit more. I know JJ Peterka has been a little quiet this past week to my liking, but again, he is indeed a rookie. Owen Power's been lugging some big-time minutes. He's been playing solid defensively, but we know, again, a taller, more steady defenseman isn't typically going to get it done up front. But, man, Craig Anderson, father time, he is beating him right now. 166 goals against average with a 946 save percentage. He's getting it done. Comrie's looked good in some of the games he's played, 909 save percentage, which I lean a little bit more heavily rather than his goals against average of a 341. So that's pretty good. But again, we won't go too deep into the Sabres. Again, Detroit, Tampa, Montreal, all about the same. Although, man, Montreal is such a fun team to watch with all their young guns. Kirby Dach, you've got Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkowski, or however the heck you say that new rookie's name. They've looked very good. Again, they're young. I don't expect them to be in the running at all for a playoff spot, but they are going to be one heck of a team to play. Ottawa and Toronto, man. Ottawa had a good stretch there. Last week or 2 weeks ago, they looked very good. Not really being able to put it together right now. A little young. They did lose to the Florida Panthers last night. The battle of the Tkachuk brothers. Brady has been playing very good, but they're not really getting it from their depth forwards. They need to be able to step up if they want a chance to kind of be back up in the fight for the division. I know, again, if let's say they win a game, other teams lose, they're back into like third, fourth. So it is still a tight division, but you don't want to get behind the 8 ball this early and get into a hole or a rut of play and kind of get out of your groove when you need to try to stay up and fight for it. And then Toronto, I mean, all the skill in the world. Tavares, Nylander, Marner, Matthews, Riley on the back end. Samsonov hasn't been looking too good, but they have been. You can't always blame the goaltenders for giving up goals, even though they're the ones who stop the puck. But, man, Toronto, just bad turnovers, blind passing, just not being very smart, breaking the puck out of their own zone. I know they've lost Jake Muzzin for potentially the rest of the season. They are missing Matt Murray right now, so Samsonov is carrying a heavy load. But, man, it's just Toronto, man. They always go through this, and I feel bad for them because they have so much pressure being in Toronto. And you can see their goals against average only a 235 for Samsonov. Save percentage is a 920. So, again, it's not like he's playing terrible. It's just the team in front of him. They're just not performing to what they should be doing. Again, goal differential, they're -2. They've only scored 24 goals this year. Matthews has been really off to a slow start. He only has, when you take a look at goals, he only has 2 goals on the year. Again, 7 points, 2 goals, nothing crazy. Tavares, Marner, they've been playing good. Nylander has been stepping up, but other than that, they can't get it done. Their power play isn't looking in sync. They're getting scored on the PK. They're losing to teams that they shouldn't be losing to. They lost to Arizona. You can't be losing to Arizona, especially on your home ice. This past week alone, let's take a look at their schedule. I know we're going on a little Leaf tangent right now, which we'll end it in just a second. They've got a big game against the Ducks that they need to win tonight, but they lost to San Jose, which at least they got a point out of. They lost to the Vegas Golden Knights, which at this point in time, Vegas should be winning that game. They lost to LA, which to me, the Leafs got to be winning that game. But tonight, if they lose to the Ducks tonight, look out. Toronto media is going to be all over them. Puck is about to drop as soon as this episode is about to end. But man, Leafs are on the panic button. We're hovering over it. We're about to press it, because if they can't figure it out here in the next week, and next week they've got 2 tough games. They've got 3 really. 3, yeah. Flyers, Boston, Carolina. At this point in time, do you really think that they're going to win this game? or win those games. To me, the only one that they could win would be Philly. They got 2 out of the 3 at home. But man, we'll be at that game Sunday night. They could lose those 2 games, and they're coming off a back-to-back against Boston at home, then have to fly to Carolina. I don't know, man. It's looking sketchy for Toronto. If they lose to the Ducks tonight, our hand is about to press that panic button, and it's only week 3 of the NHL season. So, Toronto fans, I hear your pain. It's hard to watch, but I think they'll find a way to figure it out. Matthews can't be kept off the score sheet for too much longer. He is an elite player, elite shot, and elite goal scorer. But that's enough of the Atlantic. Let's move to the Metro, which to me has been the most exciting division to watch. It has been crazy. Obviously at the top there, New Jersey, Philly, Carolina, Islanders. I did not expect that to be the top 4 after week 3, considering the fact that you've got Washington, Rangers, and Pittsburgh down below in the bottom, near the bottom of the division. But again, let's say Pittsburgh wins their next game, a couple other teams lose, they're back up near the top of the division. They're all within a point, pretty much a point or 2 of each other than the Columbus Blue Jackets. But the 2 teams that I'm really going to point out here, we're going to go with New Jersey and the Islanders, who we're really going to take a look at this week and highlight from this division. But man, New Jersey, and we're also going to pull up the page of teams that they've beaten, their schedule, as we're going to pull up their stats. New Jersey Devils, man, they have been so much fun to watch. And as you can see there, points, you're like, if you didn't look at that screen right there and tell me who's leading them in points if you haven't watched any of their games, you would probably think Jack Hughes or Nico Hischier. But Jesper Bratt has been playing out of his mind. 15 points. Goal-wise, he's got 4. So he's dishing the puck around, man, for 15 points. Ton of assists. Goaltending, Vinacek, Mackenzie Blackwood have been great. 208 and a 281 respectively. And then save percentage, a little bit better for Vinacek. He's got a 903 versus the 871 for Blackwood. But to me, their top dogs are getting it done. Bratt, Hischier, Hughes, even Dougie Hamilton on the back end. Dawson Mercer has been a very interesting player to see so far this year. Alexander Holtz has been a little too quiet for my liking. John Marino looking pretty good coming over from Pittsburgh for them, looking better on the defensive side of things, which is always good to see for him. Andre Palat, a little quiet. Again, new environment, new team, has been with Tampa Bay for a long time. He'll figure it out, but offensively, they are looking like extreme firepower, almost to the point, I wouldn't say to the point of the Boston Bruins, but when you look at goals for versus goals against, again, +8 differential, 31 for, 23 against, they have won their last 3 games. And when we look at their schedule this past week, let's see, they beat New Jersey 1-0. They beat the Colorado Avalanche 1-0. Barn burner of a game, kind of boring to watch, but defensively they were great. They beat the Red Wings 6-2. They beat Washington 6-3. And then if we even go back to last Saturday, they beat a team that they should be beating if they want to fight for playoff contention. They beat the San Jose Sharks. They beat the New York Islanders. I mean, things are looking good for this team. Don't get me wrong. And tonight, they absolutely hammered the Columbus Blue Jackets. So this team is really firing on all cylinders. They've won their last 3 games. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry. They lost to Washington for some reason in my mind. They won that game, but they lost to Washington. So let's say if they didn't lose that game, they would have been on a 7-game heater. So 6-1 in your last 5 or 6-1 in your last 7. That's pretty darn good hockey. They're starting to figure it out. That's a solid month to start the year, even though they started off pretty weak, losing their first 2 games, but they've started to turn it around, starting to figure it out. Hischier leading them by example. Again, he's up there for team stats, but Jesper Bratt playing out of his mind. Vinacek between the pipes, playing very good hockey. Again, they're chip and chase, and when they need the skill, they have the skill. Hughes has got eyes in the back of his head with his passing. Their power play has looked pretty decent to me. I don't know what their stats are specifically at this point in time, but man, oh man, look out for the Devils as they continue to go. Next week, let's actually take a peek. Next week, they've got their West Coast swing, it looks like, or Northwest swing. They've got Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary. If they can go 2-1, they should beat Vancouver. And I wouldn't say they should beat either of the other two teams, but if they go 2-1 in their Western Canada swing, that would be a huge win for them next week, and we could be talking about them a little bit more as the year progresses. So good on for the Devils. They will continue to pour it on. Now, the next team we're going to talk about, the New York Islanders, in depth, at least in depth. Islanders, 3-game winning streak. We watched the game last night, at least the first 2 periods. Massive comeback against the Colorado Avalanche. Avs looked like they were all over them. Islanders couldn't get anything going. Goaltending looked extremely soft with Varlamov, but they found a way to get it done. They came back 5 unanswered goals, and that's Islanders hockey. In your face, grinding away. They're never really out of a game unless you absolutely bury them in a period. We'll pull up their schedule for this past week just to give you a little bit of a breakdown of who they've beaten. So again, they beat the Avalanche 5-4, massive comeback. They smoked the Carolina Hurricanes. They smoked the New York Rangers. They lose a close game to the solid Florida Panthers. And I mean, look out for this team, guys. I wasn't high on them to start the year. They did lose to the Devils. They did lose to the Lightning. But man, they're starting to figure it out. I think that's really what's happening. They're starting to figure it out. They've got an away trip coming up here. They've got Chicago, St. Louis, Detroit. They should go 2-1. They should beat Chicago, and they should beat St. Louis. Now, that Detroit game will be interesting, but I think they should. None of those are back-to-back because there are travel days in between. But who knows? They could go 1-2, and we're back to saying, the Islanders, they're not looking very good. They haven't been able to get the puck going north. They've been hemmed into their own zone. But as of late, the last 3 games, obviously W's for them. They've looked extremely good. You can't let them hang around in a game, man. Even though they were down 3-0 to the Avalanche, they found a way to claw themselves back into that game, throwing the body around, just getting the puck to the net. Defensively, they've looked very good. Let's pull up their stats right now, actually. Not team stats, but point stats for them right now. Not too crazy, but they're getting it done by committee. Barzal, Nelson, Anders Lee, Wallstrom, Beauvillier had an absolute nip last night. Dobson, Pollock, JG Pajot, Pelix, Mayfield. As you can see on that leaderboard, a lot of defensemen, a lot of shots from the point, a lot of passing high to low, working it then to the front of the net, crashing the net, in-your-face hockey. And again, they've got the leadership of Anders Lee, who is a skillful brute of a player. That dude is a great hockey player. And then you've got great goaltending between the pipes. Sorokin and Varlamov. 2-2-1 with a 3.03 for Varlamov. But then save percentage, they're both above 900. Sorokin 9.33 with Varlamov sitting there at 9.07. Pretty solid tandem, if you ask me. One of the top 3 in the NHL in my eyes. If they can continue to play great hockey on the back end, getting shots from the point and scrapping, crashing the net, high to low play, solid cycle play, chip and chase, Islanders hockey. When you really think of it, it's Islanders hockey. And get great goaltending. Look out for the Islanders. They will continue to push teams around and find a way to win hockey games, being at the top or near the top of the Metro division. But those are my big breakdowns of teams. But the rest of the Metro, Flyers, Carolina, great game last night. Carolina able to come back and win that game. Was crazy stuff. Nicias has been playing out of his mind recently for the Carolina Hurricanes in my eyes. Washington, some games they look good, some games they look bad. It's just one of those things. The same can be said for the Rangers. The games they're hot, man, they look good. Yesterday, they smoked the Stars. It was a close game, back and forth goals going each way, but then in the third, they pull away. That is the type of performance you would think that the Rangers would continue to do, but they just haven't been able to really find that rhythm this year so far. Shesterkin took a nasty, hit yesterday, but he was able to stay in the game, so I don't expect anything too much. Columbus really struggling. They'll be near the bottom of the division all year long. But the biggest surprise, really, Pittsburgh have been just struggling. I mean, Northwest swing, they played Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, and the Kraken. Lost yesterday to the Kraken 3-1, empty net, so basically 2-1. You lose 5-1 to Vancouver. You lose, 3-1 to Calgary, and then you lost 6-3 to start that trip off to Edmonton, where you were actually up in that game 3-1. What's going on in Pittsburgh, man? I've seen some of their games, just defensive zone breakdowns, trying to chip the puck out and giving it away, bad passing, not looking. The goal scoring has been a little dry right now as well. Gensel was out for a little bit. He was back yesterday and did score. But when we look at, let's pull up their team stats right here. Crosby's been playing great. Malkin's been playing great. 11 points, 8 points. Goaltending is not there right now. They got to find a way to figure it out. DeSmith has actually been playing more than Yari in my eyes. 297, 302 for Yari. Save percentage, it's there. 915 and a 913. It doesn't look like that in some of the games they play, but defensively, there's bad turnovers, throwing the puck where you shouldn't be, backhand clears, just not getting out of the zone, neutral zone breakdowns, giving pucks away and turning it over for counterattacks that end up getting scored on and burnt. Maybe this West Coast trip, Northwest Coast trip, whatever you want to call it, has exposed a little bit of what their defense is this year. I know I was pretty high on their defense to start the year of, man, they look good, but at this point, they just not looking very good. They got to figure it out and figure it out quick. Now, I know this episode might be running a little long. I know last week we were actually a little bit faster. Hey, what's up, Rick? Thanks for joining in. But I know we ran a little short last week, so we're kind of making up for that this week with the hockey talk. But to close out this episode, we have got our top 10 power rankings, which I actually even forgot to bring this up, and I'll probably have to clear this out. But this was last week's power rankings, guys, as you guys can see from top to bottom. Boston 1, Calgary 2, Pittsburgh 3, Buffalo 4, Dallas 5, Carolina 6, St. Louis 7, Avalanche 8, Golden Knights 9, and then the Flyers were 10th. That was last week. We have a new week of power rankings, and let me just clear all of these guys out because we've got a reset. I've got my little cheat sheet right in front of me. We did a little bit more research. I know a lot of people last week were firing at me like, oh, why aren't the Panthers in? Why aren't certain teams in? And they were beating these teams, and these teams are only beating these teams. And on your screen, you guys can see a little untitled spreadsheet. I've been able to put together a power ranking system. Now, this is not you can see here on the left-hand side of this screen, you can see the rank, and it's 1 through 32. Those aren't the official power rankings. Those are just stat line power rankings, goals for, margins, goals against, home goals, away goals. That is the pure just numbers. And again, you can see like the Buffalo Sabres are considered 4th on this, and Ottawa Senators are considered 7th. Watching them on TV, you know they're not actually 7th. So this is more just pure numbers of things to help with then my eye test. Who have they played? Who has not been in their lineup? Have they had bad goaltending recently? So that is then what I factor into my power rankings that I put together. So this is just the numbers based to sort of get the baseline for each team. Obviously, Bruins near the top. Who knows? Maybe they are going to be at the top in our actual power rankings. But I've got the list right here in front of me. You guys can't see it. I can see it right below the camera, right here where my eyesight is going. We've got my power rankings. Top 10 for this week. It is week 3, or at least this past week. Coming in at number 10, if I can find them on this list, we've got the New Jersey Devils, guys. They went 2-2 this past week. They're up there near the top of the division. They're actually the top of the division with a freaking beat down tonight of the Columbus Blue Jackets. So again, beating a team they should be beating, they get the job done. They snuck their way into the top 10. There were a couple other teams that actually dropped out. So when you think about it, there'll be a few teams that you'll see not on this list. They're like, oh, they dropped out of the top 10. Again, they were kind of in the running with some of the teams that actually were that I ended up dropping out. But we've got the Devils at 10. I know we literally just went over their schedule and the games that they've won the past couple of nights. So we've got them at 10. They're really playing great. Jesper Bratt, Nico Hischier. You've got Hughes. You've got a lot of other guys really stepping up. Vanacek playing great. Goaltending, Dougie Hamilton really leading that D core. John Moreno playing some pretty solid hockey. So they're figuring it out. I don't think they'll be up there for too much of the season, at least top of the Metro. But that division, you never know. It's the wild, wild East when it comes to hockey divisions. But that's number 10, number 9. Having a solid week, going undefeated this past week. They have not been in our top 10 rankings yet this year for our power rankings. We've got the Winnipeg Jets, guys, coming in at number 9. What a week it was for them. 3-0. They absolutely smoked St. Louis, and they won a battle last week, which I think was a big boost to them against the LA Kings last week for some teams that they did play against. St. Louis were in our power rankings the last couple of weeks. So again, beating a team who was on our top 10 is typically, if you can string some games together, is going to potentially get you in to my top 10 power rankings. And the Jets, 3-0 this past week. Again, look at the division itself. They're near to the top. They're one off the top of the division. They're above the Avalanche, who was in our top 10 of power rankings. They're above Chicago, who they should be, above Minnesota. And again, they're battling. They're 5-3-0, plus 2 goal differential, 3-game winning streak. They'll figure it out, I think, as the year goes on, and they will definitely be battling for a wild card position. But we've got them at number 9. Now, coming in at number 8 is a team that people are like, where are they? They're not on your power rankings. This was last week. I heard you. I watched them a little bit more. I watched them a little bit closer. I honestly think last night's game against the Ottawa Senators was a big proving point to me that, you know what, this team should be in the top 10 power rankings, and that is the Florida Panthers, guys. They looked so good last night against the Ottawa Senators. They went 2-2 for the week, so a couple games where they kind of lost some battles, but they did win against the Islanders. They did win against the Ottawa Senators. And then when you look at the standings as well, because that also plays in as a factor in where I'm going to have them in my power rankings, they're 5-3-1, second in the division. Obviously, they're behind Boston being one of the top teams in the league, but they're above Buffalo, they're above Detroit, they're above Toronto, they're above Tampa Bay. They're playing decent hockey in the games that they're winning. Even the games that they're losing battle games. It's not like they're going quietly into the night for what they are doing. So look out for the Panthers. They could be staying around the power rankings here for a little while longer. And all you Florida Panthers fans last week who were like, where are the Panthers? They didn't play well in week 2. They played pretty decently enough here in week 3 to earn themselves back a spot in the top 10. Now moving on to number 7. Kind of a quiet week for them. They only played 2 games. They looked good in one. Honestly, they looked good in the other. They should have won that game, but just ran into a hot goaltender. So just with where they're at now in the standings and just everything in my mind and other teams' performances and how well they did against others, we've got the Calgary Flames moving down. We had Calgary at number 2 last week. Week 1, they were first. They're now down to number 7. Again, they beat Pittsburgh 3-1 earlier in the week, and then last night they lost an absolute battle in the Battle of Alberta to the Edmonton Oilers. They should have won that game. They couldn't put it away. And just their performance in the third period was like, man, is this what we're going to be getting in the next couple of games out of the Calgary Flames? Is kind of why I had some pause for concern, and that's why I've dropped them in the rankings. If they can continue to play some good hockey and Huberdeau can step it up a little bit more and get some more points, lead that team a little bit more, we could be seeing them go back up in the power rankings. Sorry for the itchy nose right now, but that's Calgary at number 7. Coming in just outside of the top 5, we've got another East Coast team. I will be going to one of their hockey games this week. We've got, if I can find them, the Carolina Hurricanes at number 6. Last week, Carolina was at 6 as well. They stayed put in my mind with the games that they had this week. 2-1. They had to come back against Philly last night in overtime. Game-winning goal by Brent Burns, absolute bomb of a slap shot. Nicias has looked good. Aho has looked very good. Just with their play in the games that they lost, or the game that they lost, which they lost Friday night to the Islanders. They actually got pumped by the Islanders. It drew some concern for me on if their back end can really hold up defensively with Pesce and I'm drawing a blank, Slavin as well, and those forwards getting back and back checking, not getting three men hemmed in deep, which honestly I think happened a lot against that Islanders team on Friday night. That's why we've got them at number 6. Again, still a solid team. Again, when you look at them in the standings, they're right there. They're in third. They're 1 point off the top, so they're up there for power rankings for me, but just outside the top 5. 2, the team that we literally just mentioned that they lost to the other night, and the team that came back 5 goals. They're on a 5 goals unanswered against the Colorado Avalanche. They're on a 3-game winning streak. They're looking hot. If they can stay hot, they might be in the top 10 power rankings here as we continue moving forward as the year progresses. And if I can find them on this damn sheet, the New York Islanders in the top 5 this past week has earned them a spot. They went 3-1. Massive comeback against Colorado. They beat up on Carolina 6-2. They beat up on the New York Rangers 3-0. I believe that would have been Wednesday or Tuesday night. Just absolute awesome performances. They've played good. They did lose to the Florida Panthers, and again, that was another consideration. Florida beat the Islanders, who I had high on my list. So again, losing to a team in the top 10 didn't drop the Islanders too low in my eyes, but they are now, this is the first time on the top 10 list this year, looking very good, continuing to get it done by Kamini Barzal, Bailey, Nelson, Dobson looking very good on the back end, ripping the puck, Mayfield, Pollock, Pellick. Then you've got the goaltending with Samsonov. Why am I drawing a blank? Sorokin and Varlamov between the pipes. That's a great recipe for success, and they're starting to catch their stride here as we move on, getting to week 4 and moving on to the next team in our top 10, which we have seen quite a bit so far this year. They went, 3-0. They beat some lower teams, San Jose, the Ducks, and the Leafs. Again, Leafs, in my mind, are a low team so far this year. The Vegas Golden Knights, picking up where they left off. Last week, we had them actually at 9. Started the year off week 1. They were 4 for us. So we've got them back to number 4. Again, even though they played teams outside of my top 10, they're top in their division in the Pacific, above Edmonton and above Calgary. Playing good hockey. Again, winning games they should be winning. Goal differential is +14. Getting it done. Goaltending, absolutely out of this mind with Logan Thompson. Who knows if they could keep up this awesome success that they've been having with Eichel and Stone and Petrangelo and Theodore on the back end. If they can continue to play good hockey, we'll be seeing them in the top 10 more often than not. But that's them at number 4. Coming in now at number 3, this team last week actually is moving up 2 spots, taking over from the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are struggling. As you could probably tell, the Penguins are out of the top 10. But this team playing very solid hockey. They went 2-2 last week, had a battle with Boston that they actually ended up losing. They lost yesterday to the New York Rangers, which gave me some pause for concern. But they are top of their division. The 2 games that they did win, they looked very good. Even the game against Boston, which gave me another reason of why I still have them so high, and that is the Dallas Stars staying here, or moving up to number 3, staying at least in the top 10. Week 1, they were 6. Week 2, they were 5. This week, they are 3, so they bumped up 2. Again, if their top line can continue to produce with Robertson, Hintz, and Pavelski, we can expect them to keep doing well. If they get injured or that some things fall apart, can their depth, can Sagan, can other guys step up and get the job done? If not, they'll start losing games. And if Ottinger continues to play well, we will see them up near the top 5 of my top 10 power rankings. As we move on now to number 2, making the biggest jump They have yet to be in the top 10 so far this year for me. They've played great. They went 4-0 this week. They're now up near the top of their division, just below the Vegas Golden Knights, and that is the Edmonton Oilers. If I can find them. There they are. I was going to say I haven't touched them all year of moving them in to the top 10. Oilers 4-0, bunch of wins. They did beat Calgary, who are in our top 10. They look good. McDavid, Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Hyman, they're looking good. And then the Skinner between the pipes, Stuart Skinner with that mustache, the way he's playing, he's giving their team confidence that, hey, we've got a goalie between the pipes. It might not be Soupy Campbell, but it's the stash, Stuart Skinner. They're getting it done. Again, last night they were completely outplayed by the Flames, but games like that you shouldn't win, that you end up winning, that's a team that is looking for long-term success in this league and will continue to get that, because the games that they're on, man, look out for the Edmonton Oilers. Again, +6 on the goal differential. They're starting to figure it out a little bit more. 34 goals for on the year. If their back end can continue to play well with Darnell Nurse and Evan Bouchard needing to clean it up a little bit more on the back end, look out for the Edmonton Oilers as the season goes on. And I'm sure you're like, man, I haven't seen this team yet on the top 10, and where are they? And they haven't moved. They are exactly where they were last week, and it is the Boston Bruins coming back in at number 1. They missed out first week they were number 5 week 1. They were 1 week 2, and now they are number 1 week 3. In my top 10 power rankings, 3-0 on the week. Just a very solid team. They're getting the job done against the teams that they play. Again, we talked about them earlier in the video, and you guys will see a segmented video that I will drop during the week about them. But man, they're scoring goals like left and right, getting it done. Pasternak is just absolutely a stud, scoring at will. You got Bergeron playing great. You've got Krejci playing great. Old man Krejci just has that vision, has the knowledge, has that know-how on the ice. Taylor Hall's been playing good. DeBrusk, Hampus Lindholm has really stepped up on the back end, and Ullmark between the pipes has really been the main difference maker on that back end and the defensive. Man, we've got a goalie. We can go out and win hockey games, even though we're missing Marchand on the front end. And I don't foresee them going anywhere anytime soon from the top 10 power rankings. But those are the top 10 power rankings for week 3 for us guys. Again, Boston, Edmonton, Dallas, Vegas, Islanders, Carolina, Calgary, Florida, Winnipeg, and the Devils rounding out the top 10. Let me know what you think down below in the comments of if we are way off on this, who should be in there over who else. Should the Flyers be in there? Should the Rangers be in there? Should the Avalanche be in there? The teams that actually did drop out of the top 10 from this past week, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, the St. Louis Blues, and the Colorado Avalanche, all dropping out of my top 10 power rankings. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comments on these power rankings for week 3 of the NHL season. But when it comes to this episode and where we're at, again, thank you all who have jumped in. The 6, thank you so much for stopping in. Thoughts on the St. Louis Blues? I know I did talk about them a little bit earlier. Will the Blues win the Cup again? It is still pretty early. Again, they have not looked very good this past week. They've lost 3 straight. If we look at the standings right now, St. Louis is near the bottom. 4-game losing streak. They look discombobulated. Bennington doesn't look good between the pipes. They can't score goals right now. I mean, they are scoring goals, but they can't score in bunches. They're -7 goal differential. Can they win the Cup? Any team can win the Cup, but the Blues definitely have a blueprint of being able to win the Cup. It's just a matter of being able to put that together with the skill and will that they have. They got to figure it out. Again, season's still super early. I'm sure they'll figure things out, make the playoffs. And then once they're in the playoffs, anything is possible. But thank you so much, the 6, for stopping by. But if you guys have enjoyed this episode, we're just coming to a close right now. I know we have gone actually a little bit longer than I anticipated as well. Drop a like on this video. Thank you so much for stopping by. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. I know Danny, I know you are here. Rick, thank you so much for stopping in. The 6, my new man, thank you for stopping in. We are actually up to 3 likes, so that's pretty awesome for the puck drop. This is episode number 3. Again, this upcoming week, make sure you guys are staying tuned in to the community tab. There will be updates all week long, but again, there will not be a live stream watch along, and then the puck drop for episode 4 next week won't come out on Sunday. It'll be on Monday is when we will do it, because I will be at the Carolina Maple Leafs game in Raleigh, North Carolina, 5 p.m. next Sunday. I will also try to have a vlog video style for you guys to follow along with the experience. So I hopefully can bring that to you guys. And as the week goes on, make sure you follow me on Twitter. Follow the community tab feed here on the channel. Subscribe so you don't miss out on anything. Turn on the bell notification so you guys don't miss out on any of the videos and segments that we drop from this video throughout the week. If you want to go back and watch and not have to watch the whole live stream video, I will have certain segments of the breakdowns that I gave you guys this week. But that's going to be it for this episode. I thank you guys so much. I will go back through the comments and answer any comments that I did miss. I know during these videos I try not to answer them as much because we want to try to get everything in a short period of time. These are typically 1-hour episodes. We went a little long this week, getting a little carried away, but it was fun. We always do have fun with everything on this channel. But thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you guys throughout the week. Follow along Twitter, community tab. If you have questions, feel free to reach out, drop comments on videos. We'll see you guys next week with different videos, but I hope you guys have a good one. And as always, stay dusty.